Stand still.
Due to this
I want to see
display of
how filthy
disrespect,
someone
the
like
deal
you
is
looks in real
terminated.
crystal.
We will not be proceeding
Preston
with the
Whitmore's
$650 million
14-year-old lips curled
acquisition.
into a sneer as he raised the goblet high above Maya Richardson's head. The red wine crashed down her face like blood streaming through her carefully styled natural hair, soaking into her $12,000 peach silk gown. Victoria Whitmore clapped from across the ballroom, her phone steady recording. "Good boy, Preston. She fits the part now." Richard Whitmore III approached, eyes cold as granite. "Try not to stain the carpet. These galas weren't designed for your kind." Maya didn't move. Wine dripped from her chin onto marble floors. And none of them understood they had just drenched the one woman capable of collapsing their empire with a single decision. Before we continue, comment below what city you're watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you absolutely cannot miss. The crystal goblet was still raised above her head when Maya Richardson saw Preston Whitmore's eyes. They weren't the eyes of a mischievous child playing a prank. They were the eyes of someone who had been taught carefully and deliberately that certain people existed only to be humiliated. "What's the matter?" Preston laughed, shaking the last drops onto her forehead. "Cat got your tongue." Maya felt the wine seeping into her scalp. Cold, sticky, violating. 300 guests stood frozen around her. Phones appeared from every direction. The Whitmore Foundation Centennial Gala had just witnessed something that would shatter the internet within minutes. But Maya Richardson didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't give them what they wanted. "Thank you," she said softly. Preston's smirk faltered. "What did you say?" "I said thank you." Maya's voice carried across the silent ballroom. "You've just clarified my final decision." Victoria Whitmore stopped recording. "Excuse me, Richard. Did you hear what she just said to our son?" Richard Whitmore pushed through the crowd, his face arranged in mock concern. "Ms. Richardson, I'm sure Preston didn't mean any harm. Boys will be boys. Perhaps you're being a bit sensitive about a little joke." Maya looked at him. She had studied this man for 18 months during partnership negotiations. She knew about the discrimination lawsuits quietly settled out of court. She knew about the minority employees who mysteriously resigned after raising complaints. She knew about the financial irregularities her forensic accountants had flagged. She had pushed those concerns aside because the deal made business sense. Not anymore. "Mr. Whitmore," Maya said, "I believe I'm scheduled to deliver the keynote address." Richard blinked. "Well, yes, but surely you'll want to clean up first. We can have someone bring you a robe reschedule for later when you're more presentable." "No." Maya squared her shoulders. "I'll speak now." A young black waiter rushed forward with napkins. His hands were shaking. "Ms. Richardson, I'm so sorry. Please let me help you." Maya took his hand and squeezed it. "What's your name?" "Marcus, ma'am. Marcus Williams." "Marcus, look at me." She waited until his frightened eyes met hers. "Remember this moment. Remember who they really are. And remember that you don't have to accept this. Not from anyone." Marcus nodded, tears forming in his eyes. "Yes, ma'am." Maya released his hand and turned toward the stage. Wine dripped from her arms with every step, leaving a trail of red droplets on the pristine floor. The spotlight operator followed her with the beam, highlighting every stain, every drop. The audience parted before her. Maya climbed the stairs, her heels clicking against wood. She took her place behind the podium, where she was supposed to announce the historic partnership between Sunrise Energy Solutions and Whitmore Energy Holdings. 300 pairs of eyes locked onto her. "Good evening," she began, her voice clear and unwavering. "I had prepared remarks about partnership progress and shared vision for the future." Richard Whitmore's smile widened. He whispered to his wife, "Watch her fall apart. This is going to be entertaining." "But recent events," Maya continued, "require a different message." Richard's smile flickered. "Effective immediately. Sunrise Energy Solutions is terminating all negotiations regarding the proposed $650 million strategic partnership with Whitmore Energy Holdings. The ballroom erupted. Gasps ricocheted off the walls. Business reporters who had been covering the gala as a society event suddenly realized they had a front-page story. Victoria grabbed her husband's arm. "Richard, she can't do this." "The hell she can't," Richard snarled. He shoved through the crowd toward the stage. "This is breach of contract. I'll sue you into the ground." Security guards moved to intercept him. "Our company values include integrity, respect, and dignity for all." Maya continued, her voice rising above the chaos. "We choose our partners based on demonstrated alignment with these principles. Tonight has made it abundantly clear that this alignment does not exist." "You're finished!" Richard screamed, his face purple with rage. "Do you hear me? I will destroy you. I will destroy everything you've ever built." Maya's eyes found Preston in the crowd. The 14-year-old's bravado had evaporated. He stood clutching his empty wine glass, suddenly understanding that his prank had just cost his family more than $500 million. "To quote someone in this room," Maya said, "boys will be boys and companies will be companies. We all make our choices, and we all live with the consequences." She stepped back from the podium. "I choose to walk away from toxicity, no matter how profitable the alternative might be. I wish you all a lovely evening." Maya descended the stairs as cameras flashed like lightning. She moved through the stunned crowd, head high, spine straight. Some guests stepped back as if her wine-stained presence might contaminate them. Others looked at her with something close to awe. One elderly black woman, a retired judge named Eleanor Patterson, grabbed Maya's hand as she passed. "Child," Eleanor whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I've waited 60 years to see someone do what you just did. God bless you." Maya squeezed her hand. "We're just getting started." She pushed through the ballroom doors into the lobby. Devon Shaw, her PR director, was already running toward her tablet clutched in his hands. "Maya, the live stream has over 50,000 views. It's climbing by the second." "How fast?" 1,000 new viewers every few seconds. Your announcement is trending faster than the wine incident." Devon fell into step beside her. "We need to control the narrative before Whitmore's team spins this. They'll try to paint me as unstable, emotional, the angry black woman who overreacted to a joke. They're already trying." Devon showed her his phone. Comments were flooding in faster than the screen could refresh. Maya scanned them quickly. That calm reaction, though. She's a queen. Who raises a kid to think this is okay? Time to investigate the Whitmore's history with minority employees. But mixed in with the support were other voices. Seems like an overreaction to a teenager's prank. $650 million over spilled wine. She was looking for an excuse. Classic angry black woman syndrome. Can't handle a joke. Maya's jaw tightened. Her phone rang. The screen showed her mother's photo. "Ma, I can't talk right now." "Baby, I just saw the news." Evelyn Richardson's voice cracked. "Are you okay? Please tell me you're safe. Tell me they didn't hurt you." "I'm fine, Ma, I promise." "That boy, the way he looked at you." Evelyn was crying now. "It reminded me of Maya. It reminded me of things I thought we'd left behind. Things I thought you'd never have to experience." Maya closed her eyes. Her mother had worked 3 jobs to give her a chance. Cleaned houses, washed dishes, pressed other people's clothes so her daughter could one day wear her own designer gowns. "Ma, listen to me. I'm okay. I didn't let them break me. I stood up there and I showed them exactly who I am." "I know you did, baby. I'm so proud of you. But I'm scared. These people, they don't forgive. They don't forget. They'll come after you with everything they have." "Let them come." Maya's voice hardened. "I've been fighting people like them my entire life. This is just another battle. Be careful, Maya. Please. For me." "I will, Ma. I love you." "I love you too, baby. more than anything in this world." Maya ended the call. Devin was watching her with concern. "Your driver's waiting in the underground garage. There are already news vans outside the main entrance." "Take me home. I need to think." The car slipped out of the private exit, emerging blocks away from the media circus. Maya leaned back against the leather seat, finally allowing herself to feel the sticky discomfort of her ruined gown. "The Whitmore stock is already dropping in after-hours trading," Devin reported, scrolling through his tablet. "Their Asia markets opened 20 minutes ago. It's not pretty." "How bad?" "Down 8% and falling. Gregory's PR team is in full damage control mode." Maya stared out the window. "They'll push back hard tomorrow. Have our legal department ready. And Devin." "Yes. Find out everything you can about the Whitmore family. Every lawsuit, every settlement, every skeleton in their closet. I want to know what we're really dealing with." Devin nodded. "I'll have a full report by morning." The car pulled into Maya's building. Security had already doubled their presence. The elevator whisked her to her penthouse in blessed silence. Only when the doors closed behind her did she allow her shoulders to drop. She walked straight to her bathroom, peeling off the ruined gown. The hot shower washed away the wine, but couldn't erase the memory of Preston's sneer, Victoria's applause, Richard's cold eyes. These galas weren't designed for your kind. Maya pressed her forehead against the shower tile and let the water run over her. 41 years old, CEO of a company worth billions, one of the most respected business leaders in America. And a 14-year-old boy had poured wine on her head because he wanted to see how filthy she looked. She had built Sunrise Energy Solutions from nothing, started in her mother's garage with $50,000 in student loan debt and a dream. 17 years of 16-hour days. 17 years of being the only black woman in rooms full of people who looked at her like she didn't belong. And tonight, all of that had been reduced to a punchline for a rich white family's entertainment. Her phone buzzed on the bathroom counter. Then again, then again. Maya turned off the shower and wrapped herself in a silk robe. 23 missed calls. Over 200 text messages. Email notifications numbered in the thousands. But one message caught her attention. An encrypted text from an unknown number. "Ms. Richardson, my name is Dorothy Hayes. I worked for the Whitmore family for 27 years as their housekeeper. What happened to you tonight was not an isolated incident. I have documents, recordings, and evidence of things they've done that would destroy them completely. Things they've paid millions to keep hidden. I'm ready to share everything. Please meet with me. It's time someone finally held them accountable." Maya read the message twice, then 3 times. Her instincts told her this was genuine. The precise language, the formal tone. This wasn't some internet troll. This was someone who had been waiting a very long time for this moment. She typed a response. "Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., my office at Sunrise Tower. Tell security you're here for a private meeting with me." The reply came immediately. "I'll be there. Thank you for standing up to them tonight. You're not alone in this fight anymore." Maya placed her phone on the nightstand. Sleep wouldn't come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Preston's face, that smirk, those cold eyes. "Stand still. I want to see how filthy someone like you looks in real crystal." At 3 a.m., her phone buzzed with another message, this one from Devin. "Maya, you need to see this. Whitmore's team just leaked something to the press. They're claiming you have a history of emotional instability. They're digging into your past. And Maya, they found something about your mother." Maya sat up in bed, her heart pounding. What about my mother? 30 years ago, a bad check. She was arrested, Maya. They're going to use it against you. Maya's blood turned to ice. Her mother had never talked about it. Maya only learned the truth when she was 18, applying for college financial aid. Evelyn Richardson had been desperate. 3 jobs weren't covering the bills. Maya had needed medicine. The rent was due. And in a moment of desperation, Her mother had cashed a check she knew would bounce. The charges were eventually dropped. Evelyn had paid back every cent plus interest. But the arrest record remained, and now the Whitmore family was going to drag it into the spotlight. "They're calling it the Richardson Family Legacy of Instability," Devon continued. "The article drops at 6 a.m. We have 3 hours to prepare a response." Maya's hands were shaking as she dialed her mother's number. "Ma, wake up. We need to talk." "Maya, baby, it's 3 in the morning. What's wrong?" "Ma, they found out about the check, about the arrest. They're going to put it in the news." Silence on the other end. Then a sound Maya had never heard before. Her mother crying. "I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to. I tried so hard to protect you from my mistakes." "Ma, stop. Listen to me. You have nothing to apologize for. You did what you had to do to survive, to keep me alive. That check paid for my medicine when I was sick. You saved my life. But your reputation, your company, everything you've built, means nothing compared to you." Maya's voice was fierce. "You hear me? Nothing. I will not let them use you as a weapon against me. I will not let them make you feel ashamed of surviving." "What are we going to do?" "We're going to fight back. Together. The way we always have." Maya ended the call and immediately dialed Devon. "Change of plans. We're not playing defense. I want a press release ready by 5 a.m. I'm going to tell my mother's story myself before they can twist it. Every detail, every struggle, every sacrifice she made so I could have a chance." "Maya, are you sure that's incredibly personal?" "That's exactly why it'll work. They want to paint my family as unstable. I'll show the world what real strength looks like. A single mother working 3 jobs doing whatever it took to keep her daughter alive. That's not instability. That's heroism. I'll have it ready." Maya hung up and walked to her window. The city spread out below her, millions of lights flickering in the darkness. Somewhere out there, Richard Whitmore was scheming, plotting, preparing to destroy her. He didn't know what he was up against. At 6 a.m., Maya's press release hit every major news outlet at the exact same moment Whitmore's attack piece dropped. The contrast was devastating. Whitmore's article painted Evelyn Richardson as a criminal, a woman whose instability had been passed down to her daughter. Maya's statement told a different story. "My mother worked 3 jobs to raise me alone. When I was 7 years old, I contracted pneumonia. We had no insurance, no savings, no family to turn to. The medicine I needed cost $400. My mother had $12 in her bank account, so she wrote a check she couldn't cover, knowing it would bounce, knowing she might go to jail, because the alternative was watching her daughter die. She was arrested. She was humiliated. She spent 6 months paying back every cent with interest while still working 3 jobs. And she never, not once, complained. She just kept fighting. That woman taught me everything I know about strength, sacrifice, and survival. If the Whitmore family thinks attacking her will break me, they have fundamentally misunderstood who they're dealing with." By 7 a.m., the narrative had completely flipped. #EveryMotherFights was trending worldwide. Women were sharing their own stories of desperate choices made to protect their children. News anchors were crying on air as they read Maya's statement. And the Whitmore family's attack had backfired spectacularly. Richard Whitmore's phone rang off the hook with panicked board members demanding an explanation. Victoria Whitmore deleted her social media accounts after being flooded with messages calling her a monster. Preston Whitmore refused to leave his bedroom, terrified by the hatred pouring in from every direction. At 7:45, Maya's phone buzzed. "A Dorothy Hayes is here to see you." Maya took a deep breath. "Send her up." 5 minutes later, her office door opened. Dorothy Hayes was 74 years old, but she carried herself with the dignity of a queen. Silver hair styled simply, clothes pressed to perfection, eyes that had seen too much and stayed silent for too long. "Ms. Richardson." Dorothy's voice was soft but steady. "Thank you for seeing me." Please sit down. Can I get you anything? No, thank you. Dorothy settled into the chair across from Maya's desk, clutching a weathered leather satchel. I watched your press release this morning. What you said about your mother. That took courage. It took desperation, Maya admitted. They were trying to use her against me. That's what they do. That's what they've always done. Dorothy unclasped her satchel with trembling hands. 27 years. That's how long I worked for the Whitmore family. I started when Richard was just 26, fresh out of business school. She withdrew a stack of leather-bound journals. I started keeping records my first week. The way they spoke to staff, especially people of color, I knew I needed proof. Nobody would believe me otherwise. Maya opened the first journal. Dorothy's handwriting was precise, each entry marked with time, date, and location. The first page documented Richard Whitmore Sr. berating a black groundskeeper until the man quit, then laughing about saving money on severance. December 14, 1995, Maya read aloud. Mr. Whitmore called James a lazy N-word in front of the entire household staff. When James protested, Mr. Whitmore told him to go back to the jungle where he belonged. James quit on the spot. Mrs. Whitmore laughed and said, "Good riddance to bad trash." Dorothy nodded grimly. That was my first week. I almost quit too. But I needed the job. My husband was sick. We had bills. So I stayed. And I watched. And I wrote everything down. Why didn't you go to the authorities? With what my word against theirs? Dorothy shook her head. Who would believe a black housekeeper over one of the richest families in Connecticut? They owned judges, politicians, police chiefs. I saw them make problems disappear like magic. She pulled a small digital recorder from the satchel. 10 years ago, I started carrying this. The things they discussed over dinner. The deals they bragged about. The people they destroyed. Dorothy pressed play. Richard Whitmore's voice filled the office. That Indian bastard Patel thinks he can blackmail me with those accounting records. Plant something in his office. Everyone knows those people can't be trusted with money. Maya's blood ran cold. Raj Patel, the executive who was arrested for drug possession in 2015. The cocaine was planted. I watched 2 of their security men do it the night before. Dorothy's voice hardened. Raj had a wife, 2 children. He lost everything. His career, his family, his reputation. Last I heard, he was working as a night janitor in Newark because no company would hire him. Do you have proof? I have everything. Dorothy withdrew a thick manila folder. Photos, records, recordings, 27 years of documentation. She spread photographs across Maya's desk. Preston at age 6 throwing food at a maid while his parents clapped. Richard forcing minority executives to serve drinks at private parties. Victoria laughing as a housekeeper scrubbed wine stains on her hands and knees while guests watched and took pictures. But this, Dorothy said, pulling out another folder. This is what will destroy them. Financial documents, internal memos, wire transfer records. They've been embezzling from their own company for years. That partnership with Sunrise, they needed it desperately, not for business growth, to cover hundreds of millions in missing funds before the next audit. Maya studied the papers. Her forensic training spotted the manipulation immediately. Shell companies in the Caymans, fake invoices routed through subsidiary accounts. They were going to use our clean energy deal to launder money and hide Richard's gambling debts, Victoria's shopping addiction, private jets, hidden properties, bribes to judges and politicians. Dorothy leaned forward. They've built their entire empire on stolen money and broken lives. Maya sat back in her chair, processing the magnitude of what lay before her. This wasn't just ammunition for a corporate dispute. This was evidence of systematic criminal enterprise spanning 3 generations. Why now? Maya asked softly. After 27 years of silence. Why come forward now? Dorothy's eyes glistened. My granddaughter sent me that video last night. Watching you stand there, wine dripping down your face while they laughed. I saw myself. Every humiliation I swallowed. Every insult I pretended not to hear. Every time I wanted to scream but stayed silent because I needed that job. A tear rolled down her weathered cheek. But you didn't stay silent. You stood there dripping with their contempt, and you destroyed them with 4 words. I'll speak now. 4 words. 27 years of silence, and you broke it with 4 words. Maya reached across the desk and took Dorothy's hand. You've been carrying this alone for so long. Not anymore. Dorothy squeezed back. I'm 74 years old. My husband's gone. My children are grown. I have nothing left to lose. And watching you last night, I realized I have everything left to give. Maya's phone buzzed with an urgent message from Devon. Turn on the news, now. Whitmore just filed a lawsuit. Defamation and breach of contract. They're demanding $500 million in damages. Maya showed the message to Dorothy. The older woman's eyes hardened. They're scared. When the Whitmores get scared, they attack. There's more. Maya read the rest of Devon's message. They're claiming I threatened Preston backstage before the gala. They say I cornered him and warned him that I'd destroy his family if they didn't give me what I wanted. That's a lie. Of course it's a lie, but they're already pushing it to every news outlet. And Devon says they have video. Dorothy went pale. Video? What video? Security footage from the venue. Supposedly showing me threatening Preston in a hallway before the gala. Maya's jaw tightened. I never spoke to that boy before he poured wine on my head. I didn't even know what he looked like until he was standing in front of me with that goblet raised. Then the video is fake. Obviously. But by the time we prove that, they'll have already poisoned the narrative. Maya stood and walked to her window. They're trying to flip the script. Make me the aggressor. Turn their son into the victim. Her phone rang. Board member calling. Then another. Then another. Maya. Devon burst through her office door out of breath. We have a problem, a big one. What now? Titanium Solutions just called. They're suspending all contracts with Sunrise pending a full investigation into your conduct. Maya felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. Titanium Solutions was their biggest client. 30% of annual revenue. Without them, Sunrise would hemorrhage money. They can't do that. We have binding agreements. They're citing a morality clause, and Maya... Devon hesitated. They're not the only ones. I've gotten calls from 6 other partners in the last hour. Everyone wants to distance themselves until this blows over. Dorothy stood up slowly, her weathered satchel clutched to her chest. Ms. Richardson, I should go. You have more important things to deal with than an old woman's stories. No, Maya's voice was sharp. You stay. You're the most important person in this room right now. She turned to Devon. Call an emergency meeting of the legal team. I want our best forensic video analyst on a plane from wherever they are. We're going to prove that footage is fabricated. And the partners? Let them run. When this is over, we'll remember who stood with us and who didn't. Maya's eyes blazed. The Whitmores think they can bury the truth under lawsuits and fake videos and coordinated media attacks. They're wrong. She turned back to Dorothy. How many recordings do you have? Hundreds. Financial documents. Thousands of pages. Photos. Enough to fill this office. Maya nodded slowly. Then let's get to work. They wanted a war. They've got one. Dorothy opened her satchel and began spreading documents across Maya's desk. 27 years of evidence. 27 years of watching and waiting and documenting every crime. The Whitmore family had no idea what was coming, but they were about to find out. Maya's phone buzzed one more time, a text from an unknown number. Ms. Richardson, I am a current employee at Whitmore Energy. I have information about the video they're releasing. It's fake. I can prove it. But I'm scared. They'll destroy me if they find out I talked to you. Please help me. Maya showed the message to Dorothy. The older woman smiled grimly. It's starting. Once one person finds the courage to speak, others follow. Maya typed a response. You're safe. I'll protect you. Tell me everything. The reply came immediately. The video was created 2 days ago in their security office. I was there. I saw them edit it. And Ms. Richardson, I'm not the only one who knows. There are others. Dozens of us who've been waiting for someone to stand up to them. You're that someone. We're ready to fight. Maya looked at Dorothy. Dorothy looked at Maya. 27 years, the old woman said softly. I've been waiting 27 years for this moment. Maya squared her shoulders. Then let's make it count. The whistleblower's name was Marcus Chen, 28 years old, junior security analyst at Whitmore Energy. And right now he was sitting in Maya's conference room with sweat dripping down his forehead. I could lose everything, Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper. My job, my apartment. They'll blacklist me from the entire industry. Maya leaned forward. Tell me exactly what you saw. Marcus glanced at the door like he expected Richard Whitmore himself to burst through at any moment. 2 nights ago, Wednesday, I was working late finishing some routine footage backups. Around 11 p.m. I heard voices coming from the main security office. Who was there? Mr. Whitmore himself, his head of security Frank Morrison, and some guy I'd never seen before. Tech specialist based on the equipment he brought. Dorothy shifted in her seat. Frank Morrison. He's been with the family for 30 years. Does all their dirty work. Marcus nodded. They didn't know I was still in the building. I hid in the server room and watched through the glass partition. They spent 4 hours editing footage, splicing different clips together, using some kind of AI software to insert a figure into hallway footage. A figure meant to be me, Maya said. Yes, ma'am. I heard Mr. Whitmore say, and I quote, make sure it looks like she's threatening him. I want her finger in his face. I want her looking aggressive. Maya's hands curled into fists. Do you have any proof, anything physical? Marcus reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a USB drive. I copied everything. The original unedited footage, the edited version, the metadata showing when the changes were made. And this. He placed his phone on the table and pressed play. Richard Whitmore's voice filled the room. This has to be perfect. When this video drops, I want every news outlet in the country talking about how that woman threatened my son. I want her reputation destroyed. I want her company in ruins, and I want her begging me for mercy. Frank Morrison's gruff voice responded. What about the original footage? It clearly shows the hallway was empty. Delete it, all of it, every server, every backup. By tomorrow morning, the only version that exists will be the one we created. And if someone talks... Richard's laugh was cold. Who's going to talk? Everyone in this building knows what happens to people who cross me. Remember what we did to Raj Patel? One phone call and his entire life disappeared. Anyone who opens their mouth will suffer the same fate. The recording ended. Maya looked at Marcus Chen with new respect. You risked everything to bring this to me. Why? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. My grandfather was Japanese American. He spent 3 years in an internment camp during World War II. Lost everything. His business, his home, his dignity. He used to tell me that the only thing worse than injustice is silence in the face of injustice. He met Maya's eyes. When I saw what they were doing to you, I heard my grandfather's voice. I couldn't stay silent, not this time. Dorothy reached across the table and squeezed the young man's hand. You're braver than you know. Maya stood up. Devin, I want this USB drive analyzed by our forensic team within the hour. I want the metadata verified. And I want a secure backup made immediately. On it. Devin grabbed the drive and headed for the door. Marcus? Maya turned back to the young man. You're not going back to Whitmore Energy, ever. As of right now, you're under Sunrise protection. We'll put you up in a secure location. Armed security around the clock. And when this is over, you'll have a job here if you want it." Marcus's eyes widened. "Ms. Richardson, I can't ask you to—" "You're not asking, I'm offering." Maya's voice softened. "You stood up when it mattered. That's rare. That's valuable. And I don't forget people who show that kind of courage." Her phone buzzed. Devon calling from down the hall. "Maya, you need to see the news. Now." She grabbed the remote and turned on the wall-mounted television. Richard Whitmore's face filled the screen. He was standing on the courthouse steps, flanked by lawyers in expensive suits. "We have filed a $500 million lawsuit against Maya Richardson and Sunrise Energy Solutions for defamation, breach of contract, and intentional infliction of emotional distress upon my minor son." Reporters shouted questions. "Mr. Whitmore, is it true that Ms. Richardson threatened Preston before the gala?" Richard's expression shifted to practiced grief. "I didn't want to discuss this publicly. But yes, my son came to me in tears that evening. He told me that Ms. Richardson had cornered him backstage. She threatened him, told him that if our family didn't give her what she wanted, she would destroy us. My boy was terrified. What happened with the wine?" It was a frightened child lashing out at his tormentor. Maya felt her stomach turn. "That's why we're releasing security footage that clearly shows Ms. Richardson's aggressive behavior toward my 14-year-old son. The public deserves to know the truth about who this woman really is." The screen cut to the fabricated video. A dark hallway. A figure that looked like Maya advancing on a cowering Preston. Her finger jabbing toward his chest. Her body language aggressive, threatening. The audio was garbled, distorted, but certain phrases had been enhanced. "Destroy you. Your whole family. Teach you what happens." Maya watched herself, or rather the digital puppet they had created in her image, terrorize a child she had never even met before he poured wine on her head. "This is insane," Marcus breathed. "That's not even close to what the original footage showed." "The original footage showed an empty hallway," Maya said quietly. "I know, because I was never there." Dorothy was pale. "They're going to destroy you with this. The public will believe what they see." "Not if we destroy it first." Maya grabbed her phone and called Devon. "How fast can your forensic team analyze that USB drive?" "They're already on it. Initial assessment shows clear signs of digital manipulation. The metadata doesn't match. The lighting inconsistencies are obvious to anyone who knows what to look for." "How long until we can go public?" 24 hours minimum. We need to document everything perfectly. One mistake, and they'll claim we fabricated our evidence. We don't have 24 hours. Maya's mind raced. The longer that video circulates, the more people will believe it. We need to punch back now. Her phone buzzed with another incoming call. The screen showed the name that made her blood run cold. Richard Whitmore. Maya answered. "Ms. Richardson?" Richard's voice was silky smooth. "I assume you've seen the news." "I've seen your lies, if that's what you mean." Such hostility. And here I was calling to offer you a way out of this unfortunate situation. "I'm listening." "It's simple, really. You issue a public apology for your behavior at the gala. You admit that you overreacted to my son's innocent prank. You reinstate the partnership deal with a 10% penalty for breach of contract. And we make all of this unpleasantness go away." Maya laughed. Actually laughed. "You think I'm going to apologize after what your son did, after what you're doing right now? I think you're going to do whatever it takes to save your company. Our lawsuit will tie you up in court for years. The legal fees alone will drain your resources. And that video..." Richard's voice dropped lower. "That video will follow you forever. Every time someone searches your name, they'll see Maya Richardson threatening a child. Is that the legacy you want?" "Let me tell you about legacy, Richard." Maya's voice was ice. "Your family has spent 3 generations building an empire on stolen money, broken lives, and buried secrets. You think you're untouchable because your grandfather's name is on buildings. But empires fall, and when yours falls, it's going to make one hell of a noise." Silence on the other end. You have no idea who you're dealing with, Richard finally said. Neither do you. Maya ended the call. Dorothy was staring at her with something like awe. You just hung up on Richard Whitmore. In 40 years of knowing that family, I've never seen anyone do that. First time for everything. Maya's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from her CFO, James Martinez. Emergency. 3 more partners just pulled out. Stock down another 15%. Board calling emergency session in 1 hour. They're talking about removing you as CEO. Maya closed her eyes. This was exactly what Richard Whitmore wanted. Apply pressure from every direction. Squeeze her financially. Turn her own board against her. Force her to surrender before she could fight back. I need to go, Maya told Dorothy. The board is circling. If I don't stop them now, this will all be over before we can use any of your evidence. Dorothy stood and gathered her journals. I'm coming with you. Dorothy, the board meeting is for executives only. Then make me an executive. The old woman's eyes blazed with a fire Maya hadn't seen before. I spent 27 years being invisible, watching, waiting. I am done being invisible. Those board members need to hear what I have to say. They need to understand what kind of family they're siding with if they remove you. Maya studied her for a long moment. Devon draft an emergency appointment. Dorothy Hayes is hereby named Special Advisor to the CEO on matters of corporate ethics, effective immediately. Devon's eyebrows shot up. That's unprecedented. So is everything else that's happening today. Make it happen. 20 minutes later, Maya walked into the Sunrise boardroom with Dorothy Hayes at her side. 12 faces turned toward them. Some sympathetic, some hostile, all of them scared. Maya. Board Chairman William Foster spoke first. We weren't expecting guests. This is Dorothy Hayes. I've just appointed her as Special Advisor on Corporate Ethics. She has information that every person in this room needs to hear. Foster shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps this should wait until we've addressed the current crisis. This is the current crisis. Maya took her seat at the head of the table. You're all here because you're afraid. Afraid of Richard Whitmore's lawsuit. Afraid of the fake video circulating online. Afraid that your stock options will be worthless by the end of the week. No one denied it. I understand your fear. Richard Whitmore has spent his entire life making people afraid. His father did the same. His grandfather before that. 3 generations of Whitmores have built their power on one simple principle: make people too afraid to fight back. Maya leaned forward. I am not afraid. With all due respect, board member Catherine Price interjected. You're not the one with $50 million invested in this company. The video of you threatening that child is all over the internet. Our stock is in free fall. Partners are running for the exits. This isn't about fear. This is about fiduciary responsibility. The video is fake. Catherine rolled her eyes. Of course you'd say that. I'm not saying it. The evidence is saying it. Maya nodded to Devon, who connected his laptop to the room's display screen. 3 hours ago, a whistleblower from Whitmore Energy brought us the original security footage from the gala. The real footage, along with recordings of Richard Whitmore ordering its fabrication. Devon pressed play. Richard's voice filled the boardroom. Make sure it looks like she's threatening him. I want her finger in his face. I want her looking aggressive. The color drained from Catherine Price's face. This has to be perfect. When this video drops, I want every news outlet in the country talking about how that woman threatened my son. Devon switched to side-by-side comparison. The original footage showing an empty hallway. The fabricated footage showing Maya confronting Preston. The metadata doesn't lie, Devon explained. The original footage was captured at 7:23 p.m. on the night of the gala. The fabricated version was created at 11:47 p.m. 2 days later. The digital manipulation is amateur level. Any forensic expert will confirm it within minutes. Silence in the boardroom. William Foster spoke slowly. If this is true, if Whitmore fabricated evidence, he's done worse, Dorothy said. Every head turned toward the 74-year-old woman who had remained silent until now. My name is Dorothy Hayes. For 27 years, I worked as head housekeeper for the Whitmore family. In that time, I witnessed and documented systematic discrimination, financial fraud, evidence tampering, and the deliberate destruction of innocent people's lives. She opened her satchel and began placing journals on the table. Everything is here. Dates, times, names, recordings, photographs. 27 years of proof that the Whitmore family has been operating a criminal enterprise masquerading as a legitimate business. Board member Robert Kim picked up one of the journals and began reading. His face went pale. My God, they paid off a judge in a discrimination lawsuit. 3 judges over 20 years, Dorothy confirmed, along with 2 prosecutors, 1 police chief, and 7 city council members. Catherine Price grabbed another journal. They embezzled from their employee pension fund. $42 million between 2010 and 2018. Covered up with falsified audits. William Foster looked like he might be sick. If any of this is true, it's all true, Maya cut in. And the Whitmores know it. That's why they're attacking so aggressively. They're not trying to win a lawsuit. They're trying to destroy me before I can destroy them. She stood and walked around the table, making eye contact with each board member in turn. You have a choice to make, right now. Today. You can side with the Whitmores. Vote to remove me. Distance yourselves from this fight. And I promise you, when the truth comes out, and it will come out, you will be remembered as the people who chose money over justice, who abandoned an innocent woman to protect your portfolios. She paused. Or, you can stand with me. Fight with me. Help me expose 3 generations of corruption. And when this is over, when the Whitmores are in prison where they belong, you will be remembered as the people who helped bring them down. William Foster spoke first. What exactly are you proposing? I'm proposing war. Maya's voice was steel. We release everything. Dorothy's evidence. The whistleblower recordings. The proof that their video is fabricated. We don't wait for them to attack again. We hit them so hard they never recover. That's incredibly risky, Catherine said. Everything worth doing is risky. The question is whether you believe in what this company stands for. Clean energy, ethical business, doing the right thing even when it's hard. Maya looked around the table. I built Sunrise because I believed we could be different. Better. Now I'm asking you to prove me right. Silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. William Foster cleared his throat. I move to table the vote on leadership transition indefinitely. Catherine Price hesitated, then nodded. Seconded. All in favor. 12 hands rose. Maya felt her throat tighten. Thank you. Don't thank us yet, William said grimly. If this doesn't work, we're all going down together. Then let's make sure it works. Maya's phone buzzed. Devin checking his tablet at the same time. They exchanged looks. What is it? Maya asked. Devin's face was gray. The Whitmores just released another video. This one is Preston giving an interview. He's crying, talking about how terrified he was when you threatened him, how he hasn't been able to sleep since the gala. He turned the tablet toward her. Preston Whitmore's tearful face filled the screen. He looked young, vulnerable, nothing like the sneering boy who had poured wine on her head. I just want everyone to know the truth, Preston sobbed. She scared me so much. I didn't know what else to do. I thought if I made her angry, maybe she'd leave me alone. I never meant to hurt anyone. Victoria Whitmore sat beside him, stroking his hair. My baby has been traumatized. He wakes up screaming in the night, all because that woman couldn't handle a business negotiation like a professional. The interviewer's voice soft and sympathetic. Preston, what would you say to Ms. Richardson if she were watching right now? Preston looked directly into the camera, tears streaming down his cheeks. I would say I'm sorry if I embarrassed you. But please, please stop trying to destroy my family. We never did anything to you. We just want this to be over. The video ended. Maya felt sick. He's good, Dorothy said quietly. They've been training him for this his whole life. How to cry on cue, how to look innocent, how to make people feel sorry for him. It's working. Devon scrolled through social media. The narrative is shifting. People who supported you this morning are now saying, maybe they judged too quickly. Maybe there's more to the story. Board member Robert Kim spoke up. We need to release our evidence now, before this gets worse. We can't. Devon shook his head. The forensic analysis isn't complete. If we go public with half-verified claims, they'll tear us apart. Maya stared at Preston's frozen face on the screen. 14 years old. The same age her daughter would have been. Maya pushed that thought away. Now wasn't the time. There's another way, she said slowly. We don't release the evidence. Not yet. Instead, we release something else. What? Maya turned to Dorothy. You said there were other employees who suffered under the Whitmores. People whose lives they destroyed. Where are they now? Scattered. Most of them were too afraid to speak up. But I kept in touch with a few over the years. How many would be willing to tell their stories publicly? Dorothy's eyes widened as she understood. You want to put human faces on this. The Whitmores are winning the sympathy war because they have a crying child on television. We need real victims, real stories, real people who can look into a camera and tell the world what that family did to them. Raj Patel, Dorothy said immediately. The man they framed for drug possession. He lost everything. But he kept copies of the accounting irregularities he originally discovered. He's been waiting years for someone to believe him. Who else? Maria Santos. They fired her 2 days before Christmas because she complained about sexual harassment. She has 3 children. Spent 2 years homeless before she got back on her feet. More. James Washington, groundskeeper for 15 years. They accused him of theft to avoid paying his pension. He had a heart attack from the stress, almost died. Get them, Maya ordered. Yeah. Every single person willing to speak. I want them in this building by tomorrow morning. We're going to give them what they've never had, a platform. Devon was already on his phone. I'll coordinate logistics. And Devon, call Sandra Mitchell at CNN. Tell her I'm ready to give an exclusive interview. But I'm not coming alone. I'm bringing witnesses. The room erupted into organized chaos. Phones ringing, plans forming, teams mobilizing. Maya stepped away from the noise and walked to the window. Dorothy joined her. You're not just fighting for yourself anymore, the older woman said quietly. You're fighting for all of us, everyone they ever hurt. I'm fighting for what's right. Maya watched the city stretch out below her. I spent my whole life playing by rules that were designed to keep people like me down, being twice as good to get half as far, smiling when I wanted to scream, staying calm when I wanted to fight. She turned to face Dorothy. I'm done playing by their rules. It's time to write new ones. Dorothy smiled. Your mother raised a warrior. My mother raised a survivor. The warrior is something I became on my own. Maya's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Ms. Richardson? The voice was electronically distorted. I have information about the Whitmore family that you need to hear. Information that goes far beyond financial fraud and discrimination. Who is this? Someone who's been inside their organization for a very long time. Someone who knows where all the bodies are buried. A pause. Literally. Maya's blood went cold. What are you talking about? Meet me tonight, alone. I'll text you the address. And Ms. Richardson, don't trust anyone. The Whitmores have eyes everywhere, even in places you'd never expect. The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone. Devon appeared at her shoulder. Who was that? I don't know. Maya's mind raced. But whoever it is claims to have information that goes beyond anything we've seen so far. Information about what? Maya remembered the distorted voice. Where all the bodies are buried. Literally. I think we're about to find out just how deep this goes. Her phone buzzed with a text, an address, and 3 words, "Come alone, midnight." Dorothy watched Maya's face carefully. What is it? Maya made a decision. Devon increased security on everyone involved with this case. Dorothy Marcus all of our witnesses. No one goes anywhere without protection. What about you? Maya pocketed her phone. I have somewhere to be tonight. Alone. 11:47 p.m. Maya pulled her car into the abandoned warehouse district on the outskirts of the city. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around, to call for backup, to not walk into what could easily be a trap. But the voice on the phone had promised answers. Real answers. The kind that could end the Whitmores forever. She checked her phone one more time. The address matched, an old shipping facility that had been closed for decades. Her phone buzzed. Devon. Maya, where are you? Your security team says you left the building an hour ago without escort. I'm handling something. Don't worry. Don't worry. The Whitmores have private investigators following your every move. They have people inside our company. And you're out there alone doing God knows what. I'll be fine. I'll check in within 2 hours. Maya. She ended the call. The warehouse door was unlocked. Maya pushed it open and stepped inside. Her footsteps echoed in the vast, empty space. Moonlight filtered through broken windows, casting strange shadows across the concrete floor. Hello? Her voice bounced off the walls. I'm here. Alone. Like you asked. Silence. Then footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Coming from somewhere deeper in the building. A figure emerged from the shadows. Maya's breath caught in her throat. Hello, Ms. Richardson. The man was maybe 60 years old, gray hair, military posture, and eyes that had seen things no person should ever see. Who are you? My name is Thomas Burke. I was head of security for the Whitmore family for 22 years. Before Frank Morrison. Before any of the current team. Why did you leave? Thomas laughed bitterly. I didn't leave. I was pushed out. Because I knew too much. Because I started asking questions they didn't want answered. He reached into his jacket. Maya tensed. But he only pulled out a flash drive. Everything is on here. Bank records, communication logs, location data. He paused. And evidence of 3 deaths that were ruled accidents, but weren't. Maya felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Deaths. What? Deaths. 1998. A union organizer named Robert Franklin. He was about to expose Whitmore Energy's illegal dumping practices. His car went off a bridge, ruled an accident. Thomas stepped closer. 2003. A journalist named Sarah Chen. She was investigating the family's political connections. House fire, electrical fault supposedly, except I was there when Richard Whitmore made the call to have it done. Maya's hands were shaking. You're saying they murdered people. I'm saying Richard Whitmore has blood on his hands, his father before him, and if you keep pushing, you might be next. Why are you telling me this now? After all these years, Thomas's face hardened. Because I have stage 4 cancer. 6 months to live, maybe less. And I am done carrying their secrets to my grave. He pressed the flash drive into her hand. I was a coward for 20 years. I watched them destroy people and said nothing because I was afraid. But you stood there dripping with wine and told them to go to hell. You're not afraid. I'm terrified, Maya admitted. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. But you're still fighting. That's more than I ever did. Maya gripped the flash drive. If I release this, if I expose them for murder, they'll come after you with everything they have, not lawsuits, Not fake videos, the real thing. Thomas grabbed her arm. You need to understand what you're dealing with. Richard Whitmore isn't just corrupt. He's dangerous. His father killed a man with his bare hands in 1987, beat him to death in the basement of their Connecticut estate. I helped clean up the blood. Maya felt sick. Why would you do that? Because I was young. Because they paid well. Because I convinced myself it wasn't my problem. Thomas released her arm. I've had 20 years to regret that choice. Don't make the same mistake I did. Don't stay silent because it's easier. His phone buzzed. He checked it and went pale. You need to leave, now. What? Why? They know you're here. Someone must have followed you. Thomas was already moving toward a back exit. There's another door through the loading bay. Take it. Don't go home. They'll be waiting. Thomas, wait. Go! Maya ran. She burst through the loading bay door just as headlights swept across the front of the building. 2 black SUVs. No license plates. Men in dark clothes piling out. Maya sprinted for her car. Her fingers fumbled with the keys. The engine roared to life. She floored the accelerator just as figures appeared in her rearview mirror. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Ms. Richardson. Richard Whitmore's voice. Cold. Controlled. I warned you not to dig too deep. Now you've gone and made things very complicated. Go to hell, Richard, hell, Richard. Such language. I expected better from a CEO of your reputation. He laughed softly. Did Thomas give you his little flash drive, his stories about accidents and fires? Maya's blood turned to ice. How do you know about that? Because Thomas Burke works for me. He always has. Every word he told you was a lie, a performance, designed to make you think you have evidence that doesn't exist. No, that couldn't be true. You're bluffing. Am I? Check your email, Ms. Richardson. I just sent you something interesting. Maya pulled over and opened her email with shaking hands. A video file. She pressed play. Thomas Burke's face filled the screen. He was sitting in an office, smiling. This message is for Ms. Maya Richardson. If you're watching this, it means you fell for our little trap. Every word I told you tonight was scripted. The flash drive contains fabricated evidence designed to be easily disproven. When you release it publicly, as we know you will, we'll expose it as fake. Your credibility will be destroyed. No one will believe anything you say after that. Thomas laughed. Did you really think someone would just hand you evidence of murder? You're not as smart as you think you are, Ms. Richardson. You're just a pawn in a game you don't understand. The video ended. Maya sat in her car, unable to move. Richard's voice came through the phone speaker. Now do you understand? You can't win this. I've been playing this game for 30 years. You've been playing for 3 days. Every move you make I've already anticipated. Every ally you think you have, I've already turned. You're lying. Thomas was genuine. I saw it in his eyes. Thomas Burke is a professional actor I hired 6 months ago. The real Thomas Burke died in 2019. Heart attack. Very sad. Richard's tone dripped with mockery. You wanted so badly to believe you had the winning hand that you didn't even verify who you were meeting. Sloppy Ms. Richardson. Very sloppy. Maya's mind raced. Was it true? Had she walked into a trap? The flash drive felt like poison in her hand. Here's what's going to happen, Richard continued. Tomorrow morning, you're going to hold a press conference. You're going to apologize for your erratic behavior. You're going to admit that your accusations against my family were baseless. And you're going to announce your resignation as CEO of Sunrise Energy Solutions. Never. Then I will destroy everything and everyone you love, starting with your mother. Maya's heart stopped. What did you say? Evelyn Richardson, age 67, lives alone at 4521 Maple Street in Baltimore, takes a walk every morning at 7 a.m., shops at the grocery store on Oak Avenue every Tuesday and Friday, attends church on Sundays at... If you touch her, I don't have to touch her. I just have to make her life impossible. Cancel her insurance. Foreclose on her house. Have her arrested on some fabricated charge. Richard's voice hardened. Your mother worked 3 jobs to give you a chance at life. How will you feel when I take everything from her because you were too proud to surrender? Maya was crying now. She couldn't help it. The tears streamed down her face as Richard Whitmore's words echoed in her ears. You have until noon tomorrow. Hold the press conference. Apologize, resign, or your mother pays the price. The line went dead. Maya sat in her car on the side of the road and sobbed. She had been so confident, so sure that justice would prevail, that the truth would win. But Richard Whitmore didn't play by the rules of truth and justice. He played by the rules of power. And right now, he had all of it. Her phone buzzed. Text from Devon. Maya, something's wrong. Call me immediately. She wiped her eyes and dialed. What is it? They got to Marcus Chen, our whistleblower. He recanted everything. Just went on Fox News saying he lied about the video fabrication. That you paid him to make up stories about the Whitmores. Maya felt the last piece of hope crumble. They got to him. His mother was diagnosed with cancer last year. Experimental treatment cost $2 million. Guess who just made an anonymous donation to cover everything? Richard bought him. Richard bought him. And Maya? There's more. The forensic team analyzing the USB drive Marcus gave us. They found something. What? The metadata was planted. The recordings were manufactured. Everything Marcus gave us was designed to look like evidence of Whitmore wrongdoing, but it's all fake. If we had released it, they would have proven it was fabricated within hours. Our credibility would have been destroyed. Maya closed her eyes. She had been outmaneuvered at every turn, every ally compromised, every piece of evidence poisoned, every path forward blocked. What do we do? Devon asked, his voice breaking. I don't know. She drove home in a daze. The security team was gone when she arrived, probably pulled by Richard's people inside her company. Her penthouse felt cold and empty. The city lights flickered below like distant stars, beautiful and completely indifferent to her suffering. At 2:00 a.m., Maya found herself in her panic room, the reinforced door locked behind her, multiple screens showing security feeds from around her building. A small cot in the corner for emergencies. She had built this room 3 years ago when the first death threats came after Sunrise's environmental initiatives upset some powerful people. She never thought she would actually need it. Now she sat on the floor back against the cold wall, watching shadows move across the ceiling. Her phone buzzed. Her mother. Baby, I just got a call from my insurance company. They're canceling my policy. No explanation, and the bank says my mortgage was sold to some company I've never heard of, and they're demanding immediate payment in full or they'll foreclose. Ma, listen to me. What's happening, Maya? What did you do to make these people so angry? I stood up to them, that's all. I refused to let them humiliate me. And now they're coming after me. After our family. Evelyn's voice cracked. Maya, maybe you should just apologize. Let this go. It's not worth losing everything we have. You want me to apologize after what they did? I want you to be safe. I want to keep my house. I want my daughter to stop fighting battles she can't win. I can win this, Ma. I just need... What more evidence, more allies? Baby, these people have been winning for 100 years. They have more money than God and fewer scruples than the devil. You can't beat them. Nobody can. Maya felt something break inside her. So I should just give up. Let them win. Let Preston Whitmore pour wine on the next black woman who dares to be successful. I'm saying pick your battles. This one isn't worth dying for. Maybe it is. Silence on the line. Don't you say that. Don't you ever say that. I didn't work 3 jobs and sacrifice everything so my daughter could throw her life away on principle. You sacrificed everything so I could become someone who stands up for what's right. That's exactly what I'm doing. Maya, I love you, Ma. Try to get some sleep. I'll figure something out. She ended the call before her mother could respond. Alone in the panic room, surrounded by screens showing a world that had turned against her, Maya Richardson finally allowed herself to feel the full weight of what was happening. She had lost. Richard Whitmore had anticipated every move, compromised every ally, poisoned every piece of evidence, threatened everyone she loved. There was no path forward, no clever strategy, no last-minute salvation. The only choice left was surrender. Maya pulled her knees to her chest and wrapped her arms around them. The tears came again, harder this time, racking sobs that shook her entire body. She had been so strong, so composed, through the wine incident, through the fake video, through the board meeting and the threats and the betrayals. But everyone has a breaking point. This was hers. For hours, Maya sat in that cold room and cried. She cried for her mother, whose life was being destroyed because of her stubbornness. She cried for Dorothy, who had waited 27 years for justice that would never come. She cried for Marcus and all the other witnesses who had been bought or threatened into silence. And she cried for herself. For the little girl from Baltimore who had dreamed of changing the world and had instead discovered that the world didn't want to be changed. At 5:47 a.m., something shifted. Maya wiped her eyes and looked at the security screens. Dawn was breaking over the city, pink and gold lights spreading across the horizon. Her phone buzzed. A text from Dorothy. Ms. Richardson, I don't know if you'll see this. Devin told me what happened, about Marcus, about the fake evidence. I know things look dark right now, but I need you to know something. The evidence I have is real. 27 years of documentation. It can't be faked because I was there for all of it. I wrote those journals in real time. The recordings are time-stamped and verified by technology that didn't exist when I made them. Richard Whitmore can buy witnesses and fabricate videos, but he can't rewrite 27 years of history. The truth is still out there, Ms. Richardson, and it's waiting for you to tell it. Maya read the message 3 times. Dorothy's evidence. Richard had been so focused on the new witnesses, the new evidence, the new threats that he had forgotten about the old woman who had been watching his family for nearly 3 decades. Maya's fingers flew across her phone. Dorothy, the recordings you made, the financial documents, are they stored digitally or physically? The response came immediately. Both. I have the original recordings on cassette tapes from the early years transferred to digital later. The physical journals are all dated with dated ink and paper that can be forensically verified. And Ms. Richardson, I have copies hidden in 3 different locations, safe deposit boxes under different names. They can't destroy what they don't know exists. Maya felt something spark in her chest. Not hope exactly, something fiercer. Where can we meet? My granddaughter's apartment in Brooklyn. The Whitmores don't know about her. 742 Bedford Avenue. I'll be waiting. Maya stood up. Her legs were stiff from sitting on the cold floor all night. Her face was swollen from crying. Her clothes were wrinkled and stained with tears. But her mind was clear for the first time in hours. Richard Whitmore thought he had won. He thought he had blocked every path, compromised every ally, destroyed every piece of evidence. He was wrong, because he had made the same mistake powerful people always made. He had underestimated the ones he considered beneath him. The housekeepers, the waiters, the invisible people who watched and listened and remembered. Dorothy Hayes had been invisible to the Whitmore family for 27 years. Just the help, not worth worrying about. That invisibility was about to become their downfall. Maya showered quickly and changed into fresh clothes. She called Devin. I need you to do something for me. Don't ask questions. Just do it. Anything. Contact Sandra Mitchell at CNN. Tell her the exclusive interview is still on, but the location has changed, and tell her to bring the best forensic document analyst in the country. We're going to verify evidence live on air. Maya, what's happening? War, Devon. Real war. She grabbed her keys. And this time we're going to win. 7:23 a.m. Maya arrived at the Brooklyn apartment to find Dorothy already there, surrounded by boxes, journals, cassette tapes, folders stuffed with documents, photographs and albums dated by year. Ms. Richardson. Dorothy rose to greet her. You look terrible. I had a rough night. I heard. Devon told me about the trap, about Marcus. Dorothy's eyes were sympathetic. But you came anyway. I almost didn't. Maya sat down heavily. Last night I was ready to give up. I sat in my panic room and cried for hours. I thought Richard had won. But then I remembered something my mother used to say when things got hard. She'd say, "Baby, the night is always darkest just before dawn. Don't quit while it's still dark." Dorothy smiled. Your mother sounds like a wise woman. She is, and she's scared right now. Richard is threatening her, her insurance, her house, everything. Then we need to end this, fast. Dorothy began opening boxes. I've organized everything chronologically, 1995 to 2022. Every year documented, every crime recorded. Maya picked up a journal from 1998. The pages were yellowed, but the handwriting was clear. December 27, 1998. Maria Santos fired today, 2 days before Christmas. I heard Mrs. Whitmore laughing about the timing. She said it was a holiday gift to ourselves. Maria cried in the kitchen for an hour before security escorted her off the property. Dorothy handed her a cassette tape. That's the recording from that day. You can hear everything. The laughter, the cruelty, the complete lack of remorse. Maya's phone rang. Devon. Sandra Mitchell is on her way. She's bringing Dr. Patricia Wong, one of the top forensic document analysts in the world. ETA 90 minutes. Perfect. Have them meet us here. Maya, there's something else. The Whitmores just scheduled a press conference for noon. They're going to release more evidence against you. I don't know what it is yet, but our sources say it's big. Then we need to go public first. Tell Sandra we're live streaming at 11. We beat them to the punch. She ended the call and turned to Dorothy. We have 3 hours to organize 27 years of evidence into a presentation that will destroy the Whitmore family once and for all. Dorothy cracked her knuckles. Then we'd better get started. They worked in focused silence, sorting documents, queuing recordings, organizing photographs into a damning timeline of corruption and cruelty. Dorothy's memory was phenomenal. She remembered every incident, every name, every date. At 9:15 a.m., Sandra Mitchell arrived with her camera crew and Dr. Patricia Wong. Ms. Richardson. Sandra shook her hand firmly. When Devon called, I thought this was a Hail Mary play. But looking at all this, she gestured at the boxes surrounding them. This is real, isn't it? 27 years of real, and I need you to help me prove it. Dr. Wong was already examining the journals. The paper is consistent with manufacturing standards from the listed years. The ink shows appropriate aging patterns. These weren't created recently. Can you verify that on camera? I can do better. I can demonstrate it in real time using portable spectroscopy. No possibility of editing or manipulation. Maya looked at Sandra. Are you ready to make history? Sandra smiled. I've been ready my whole career. At 10:45 a.m. they began the live stream. Maya sat across from Sandra, surrounded by Dorothy's evidence. The view count started climbing immediately. 10,000, 50,000, 200,000. Good morning, Sandra began. I'm Sandra Mitchell, and what you're about to see is an exclusive first look at evidence that may bring down one of America's oldest and most powerful families. Maya took a deep breath. 3 days ago, Preston Whitmore poured wine on my head at a gala while his parents laughed. That moment was captured on video and seen by millions. But what you don't know is that this incident was just the tip of an iceberg of corruption, discrimination, and criminal activity that spans 3 generations. She held up Dorothy's first journal. This documentation was compiled over 27 years by Dorothy Hayes, former housekeeper of the Whitmore family. Every page, every recording, every photograph, all of it verified by forensic experts as authentic. Dr. Wong appeared on camera, demonstrating her analysis in real time. The paper composition, ink, aging, and handwriting patterns are all consistent with documents created over a 27-year period. There is no possibility this evidence was fabricated recently. Dorothy joined Maya on screen. For 27 years, I watched that family hurt people. I watched them destroy careers, steal money, and ruin lives without a single consequence. I stayed silent because I was afraid. But I'm not afraid anymore. Ms. Richardson showed me that it's possible to stand up to power, and that's exactly what I'm doing. The view count hit 1 million. Maya played the first recording. Richard Whitmore's voice filled the stream. Plant something in his office. Everyone knows those people can't be trusted with money. Then another. Make sure the judge knows what happens to people who rule against us. Then another. That union organizer needs to be dealt with, permanently. I don't care how. Just make it happen. 3 million views. Maya produced financial documents showing decades of embezzlement. Photographs of minority employees being forced to serve at private parties. Records of discrimination settlements that were illegally hidden from shareholders. 4 million views. Sandra turned to the camera. We're receiving reports that Richard Whitmore's scheduled noon press conference has been canceled, and that federal agents are currently en route to Whitmore Energy headquarters. Maya allowed herself a small smile. It was working. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won. This isn't over. It will never be over. I will spend every penny I have and every breath in my body destroying you and everyone you love. You want war. You've got war. And I promise you, Ms. Richardson, you will regret the day you ever heard the name Whitmore. Maya read the message on live television. Richard Whitmore just sent me a threat. He says this isn't over, that he'll destroy everyone I love. She looked directly into the camera. Mr. Whitmore, I want you to hear something. You're right. This isn't over. Because justice isn't just about one woman standing up to one family. It's about all of us. Every person who has ever been humiliated by power. Every worker who has been cheated. Every victim who has been silenced. We're not going away. We're just getting started. The view count hit 10 million. Somewhere across the city, sirens began to wail. 11:47 a.m. The live stream was still running when Devin burst through the door of the Brooklyn apartment. Maya, federal agents just arrived at Whitmore Energy headquarters. It's all over the news. Sandra Mitchell immediately signaled her camera crew to split coverage. Half stayed on Maya and Dorothy, half connected to a helicopter feed showing the scene downtown. Black SUVs surrounded the gleaming Whitmore Tower. Agents in FBI jackets poured out, moving with military precision toward every entrance. News helicopters circled overhead like vultures sensing blood. Can you confirm what we're seeing? Sandra asked Maya on camera. I can confirm that everything Dorothy documented is now in the hands of federal authorities. The SEC, the FBI, the IRS. Every regulatory agency that should have been watching the Whitmores for the past 30 years is finally doing their job. The view count hit 15 million. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from her legal team. Federal judge just issued arrest warrants for Richard Whitmore, Victoria Whitmore, and 7 senior executives. Assets frozen. Passports flagged. They're not getting away. Dorothy squeezed Maya's hand under the table. Her eyes were wet. 27 years, the older woman whispered. I've been waiting 27 years for this moment. It's happening, Dorothy. Because of you. Because you never gave up. Sandra received an update through her earpiece. We're getting reports that Richard Whitmore is not at corporate headquarters. His office is empty. Security says he left the building approximately 40 minutes ago. Maya's blood ran cold. He's running. Where would he go? The private airfield. The Whitmores keep a jet at Teterboro. If he gets there before the feds. Devon was already on his phone. I'm alerting the FBI. They need to lock down that airport. But Maya knew Richard Whitmore. She had studied him for 18 months. The man always had contingency plans, always had escape routes. He won't go to Teterboro, she said slowly. It's too obvious. He knows that's the first place they'll look. Then where? Maya thought about everything she had learned. The hidden properties Dorothy had documented, the offshore accounts, the network of corruption that spanned continents. The marina. He has a yacht registered under a shell company. Dorothy mentioned it in one of her journals. If he gets to international waters. Sandra was already coordinating with her news desk. Get me a crew to the Whitmore Marina in Greenwich. Now. 12:15 p.m. The split screen showed chaos on multiple fronts. Federal agents swarming Whitmore Tower. A frantic search for Richard Whitmore. And Maya Richardson still live on camera narrating the fall of an empire in real time. We're receiving word that Victoria Whitmore has been located at the family estate in Connecticut, Sandra announced. Agents are moving in now. The helicopter footage shifted to show the Whitmore mansion, a sprawling estate that had housed 3 generations of corruption. Federal vehicles lined the circular driveway as agents approached the carved mahogany doors. Maya watched as the woman who had filmed her humiliation 3 days ago was led out in handcuffs. Victoria Whitmore was still wearing her silk pajamas. Her perfect hair was disheveled. Her face, usually frozen in an expression of wealthy condescension, was twisted with rage. Get your hands off me. Victoria's screams were audible even through the helicopter footage. Do you know who I am? Do you know who you're dealing with? An agent calmly recited her rights while another secured her hands behind her back. You're making a terrible mistake. My husband will have all of your badges. Every single one of you will regret this. Dorothy shook her head slowly. That's exactly how she sounded when she fired Maria Santos 2 days before Christmas. The same entitlement, the same belief that rules don't apply to her. Maya watched Victoria being placed in a federal vehicle, her designer pajamas a stark contrast to the cold metal of handcuffs. The woman who had laughed while wine dripped down Maya's face was now the one being humiliated on live television. But Maya felt no satisfaction, only exhaustion, and a grim determination to see this through. What about Preston? Sandra asked. Child Protective Services has been notified, Devon reported. He's a minor. There are protocols. Maya thought about the 14-year-old boy who had poured wine on her head, the sneer on his face, the cruelty in his eyes. He's still a child, she said quietly. Whatever his parents taught him, he's still a child. Dorothy's expression hardened. A child who was raised to believe that people like us exist only for his entertainment. Don't waste your sympathy on him, Ms. Richardson. He knew exactly what he was doing. Maybe, but he's also a product of that family, of that environment. With the right intervention, maybe he can become something better than what they made him. Sandra leaned forward. That's a remarkably generous sentiment given what he did to you. It's not generous, it's practical. We can't change what the Whitmores did in the past, but we can try to stop the cycle from continuing into the next generation. Maya looked directly into the camera. That's what justice should be about, not revenge, not punishment for its own sake, but breaking the patterns that create people like Richard and Victoria Whitmore in the first place. The view count hit 20 million. 12:47 p.m. Still no sign of Richard Whitmore. Maya's phone rang. Unknown number. She answered on speaker. Ms. Richardson. Richard's voice was calm, too calm. I must admit I underestimated you. Sandra's eyes went wide. She signaled her crew to keep recording. Where are you, Richard? That's not important. What's important is what happens next. Federal agents are looking for you right now. Your wife is in custody. Your company is being raided. It's over. Is it? Richard laughed softly. You think this is the first time someone has tried to bring down my family? My grandfather faced 3 congressional investigations. My father survived 2 federal probes. We've been weathering storms like this for 100 years. Not storms like this. Not with evidence like Dorothy's. Ah, yes. The loyal housekeeper who spent 27 years documenting our sins. Richard's voice dripped with contempt. Do you know why I never considered her a threat? Because she was invisible. Just the help. Not worth thinking about. That was your mistake. Perhaps. But I've made very few mistakes in my life, Ms. Richardson, and I don't intend to start making them now. Maya heard something in the background. Water. Engines. He was on the yacht. You're running. After all your talk about power and legacy, you're running like a coward. I'm making a strategic retreat. There's a difference. Richard's voice hardened. I have resources you can't imagine. Bank accounts the FBI will never find. Properties in countries with no extradition treaties. I can live very comfortably for a very long time. And then what? You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, wondering when someone will recognize your face, when someone will turn you in. I'll spend the rest of my life free, which is more than my wife can say right now. Richard paused. Tell me, Ms. Richardson, how does it feel, knowing that you destroyed my family but couldn't catch me? I feel fine, Richard, because you haven't escaped yet. The line went dead. Maya immediately called Devon. Tell the FBI he's on a yacht, heading for international waters. They need to intercept now. Coast Guard is already mobilizing. They've identified his vessel, the Victoria's Pride, currently about 12 miles offshore. International waters start at 12 miles. I know, it's going to be close. 1:23 p.m. The live stream had become the most watched event in cable news history. 40 million viewers and climbing. Every major network had abandoned their regular programming to cover the Whitmore collapse. Sandra Mitchell kept Maya and Dorothy on camera as updates poured in. We're receiving word that the Coast Guard has made visual contact with Richard Whitmore's yacht. They're attempting to establish communication. Maya's phone buzzed. Text from a contact at the Justice Department. He's refusing to respond to radio hails. Yacht is accelerating toward international waters. ETA 11 minutes. Can they catch him? The cutter is faster, but it's going to be close. Dorothy gripped Maya's arm. He can't get away. After everything we've done, he can't just disappear. He won't. Maya's voice was steel. I didn't come this far to let him sail off into the sunset. Sandra received another update. Coast Guard has authorized a pursuit. They're attempting to intercept before the yacht crosses into international waters. The helicopter footage shifted to show the chase. A sleek white yacht cutting through gray Atlantic waters. A Coast Guard cutter closing the distance behind it. 2 vessels racing toward an invisible line that would determine whether justice was served or denied. 3 miles to international waters, Sandra reported. Coast Guard is closing, but the yacht isn't slowing down. Maya watched the screen, her heart pounding. After everything, after all the evidence, all the sacrifice, all the pain, it was coming down to a boat race. 2 miles. The Coast Guard cutter was gaining. But the yacht was fast. Too fast. 1 mile. They're not going to make it, Devon said quietly. He's going to get away. Maya refused to accept that. She grabbed her phone and dialed Richard's number. He answered on the first ring. Come to gloat, Ms. Richardson. I'm about to be a free man. Turn the yacht around, Richard. Why would I do that? Because if you don't, I'm going to release everything else. Silence on the line. What do you mean, everything else? Dorothy's evidence was comprehensive. But she wasn't the only one watching your family all these years. Do you remember a security chief named Thomas Burke? The real Thomas Burke who died in 2019. What about him? Before he died, he sent me a letter, along with a safety deposit box key. I didn't open it until this morning. Maya was bluffing. She had no such letter, no such key. But Richard didn't know that. You're lying. M.I. Thomas documented things even Dorothy didn't know about. The accidents that weren't accidents, the people who disappeared, the bodies, Richard. Do you want me to start naming names on live television? The silence stretched. "Half a mile to international waters," Sandra announced. "You don't have anything," Richard said, but his voice had lost its confidence. "Robert Franklin, 1998, Sarah Chen, 2003, Marcus Williams, 2011. Maya was making up names, but she spoke with absolute conviction. Thomas kept records, photographs, recordings, evidence that links you directly to 3 murders. That's impossible. Thomas was loyal. Thomas was dying, and dying men tend to make peace with their consciences. Maya paused. Turn the yacht around, Richard. Face justice for the crimes we can prove. Or I release everything, and you spend the rest of your life running from murder charges that will follow you to every corner of the earth. The helicopter footage showed the yacht beginning to slow. "Quarter mile to international waters," Sandra reported, her voice rising. The yacht is slowing down." Maya held her breath. The yacht came to a complete stop, still on the American side of the invisible line. "You win," Richard said quietly. "For now." "Forever, Richard. You've lost forever." The Coast Guard cutter pulled alongside the yacht. Officers boarded. And Richard Whitmore, patriarch of one of America's oldest and most corrupt families, was led away in handcuffs. The live stream captured it all. 50 million viewers watched as Richard Whitmore's hands were secured behind his back. Watched as he was transferred to the Coast Guard vessel. Watched as the most powerful man in the energy industry was reduced to just another criminal facing justice. Dorothy was crying, silent tears streaming down her weathered face. "It's over," she whispered. "It's really over." Maya put her arm around the older woman. "No, it's just beginning. But the hardest part is done." 2:45 p.m. The Whitmore perp walks dominated every news channel. First, Victoria still screaming about her rights and her lawyers being loaded into a federal transport van at the Connecticut estate. Then, Richard, silent and grim-faced, being escorted off the Coast Guard cutter to a waiting FBI vehicle. 7 senior Whitmore executives rounded up at various locations throughout the tri-state area, all facing charges ranging from fraud to conspiracy to obstruction of justice. And finally, footage that broke Maya's heart, despite everything. Preston Whitmore, 14 years old, being led out of his private school by child services workers. His face was pale. His eyes were red from crying. He looked nothing like the sneering boy who had poured wine on her head just 3 days ago. He looked like a scared child who had just lost everything. "Don't feel sorry for him," Dorothy said, watching the same footage. "He made his choice when he picked up that wine glass. He made a choice that his parents taught him to make, that his grandparents taught his parents to make. That's how cycles work, Dorothy. They perpetuate themselves unless someone breaks them." "You're too kind." "Maybe. Or maybe I just know what it's like to be young and have your whole world fall apart." Maya turned away from the screen. "I hope he gets help. Real help. The kind that might actually change who he becomes." Sandra Mitchell approached them. "We're getting requests from every major network for exclusive interviews. The president's office just released a statement praising your courage." "And Maya," she hesitated. "The Sunrise Board just announced full support for your leadership. Stock is up 40% in after-hours trading." It should have felt like victory. It should have felt triumphant. Instead, Maya just felt tired. "I need to call my mother." She stepped away from the cameras and dialed Evelyn Richardson's number. Baby. Her mother's voice was thick with tears. I've been watching. I saw everything. Are you okay, Ma? Did they do anything else to you? An hour ago, I got a call from the bank. My mortgage is restored. Insurance company called back apologizing for the error. Everything is back to normal. Richard's people are scrambling, trying to distance themselves from the sinking ship. Maya, I need to tell you something. Evelyn's voice cracked. Last night when I told you to give up, when I said you should apologize and let this go, I was wrong. So wrong. Ma? No, let me finish. I spent my whole life being afraid. Afraid of people with power. Afraid of making waves. Afraid of standing up for myself because I knew the cost. Evelyn was crying now. But you, my baby girl, you stood up to the most powerful family in America. You didn't back down. You didn't break. And now the whole world knows what you're made of. I almost did break, Ma. Last night in my panic room. I almost gave up. But you didn't. That's what matters. You got back up. You found another way. Evelyn's voice strengthened. I am so proud of you, Maya. Your father would have been so proud of you. Maya's eyes stung. Her father had died when she was 7. A construction accident that the company had covered up, paying off the family with a settlement that had barely covered funeral expenses. Another powerful family crushing little people beneath their boots. I did it for him too, Ma. For you. For everyone who's ever been told they're not important enough to matter. You matter, baby. You always mattered. Now the whole world knows it. 3:47 p.m. The arrests were complete. The evidence was secured. The Whitmore empire was crumbling in real time. Maya sat with Dorothy in a quiet corner of the Brooklyn apartment while Sandra's crew packed up their equipment. The live stream had ended, but the story was just beginning to unfold. What happens now? Dorothy asked. Trials, investigations, years of legal proceedings. Maya sighed. Richard and Victoria will hire the best lawyers money can buy. They'll fight every charge, try to suppress evidence, delay everything as long as possible. Will they win? No, there's too much evidence, too many witnesses, too much public attention. Maya smiled grimly. The Whitmores have always relied on silence and shadows. They can't operate in the spotlight. And thanks to you, they're standing in the brightest light imaginable. Dorothy was quiet for a long moment. What about me? What happens to an old woman who just helped destroy one of the most powerful families in America? You become a hero, a symbol, the person who proved that courage doesn't have an expiration date. Maya took Dorothy's weathered hands in her own. And if you want it, you become part of something bigger. What do you mean? I want to create something lasting. A foundation dedicated to protecting whistleblowers, supporting workers who face discrimination, documenting corporate abuse before it can be buried. I want to call it the Dorothy Hayes Justice Institute. Dorothy's eyes went wide. That's Maya. That's too much. It's not nearly enough. You spent 27 years gathering evidence. 27 years of courage and patience and sacrifice. The least I can do is make sure your name means something. That when people think of standing up to power, they think of Dorothy Hayes. Tears streamed down Dorothy's face. I was just a housekeeper. Just the help. You were never just anything. You were a witness, a guardian of truth. And now you're proof that one person, even one invisible person, can change the world. Dorothy pulled Maya into a fierce hug. Two women from different generations, different backgrounds, different circumstances, united by their refusal to stay silent in the face of injustice. Thank you, Dorothy whispered. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for waiting, for believing that someday someone would listen. 4:15 p.m. Maya's phone had been buzzing non-stop for hours. Messages of support from colleagues, interview requests from every media outlet imaginable, and one text that made her stop cold. Ms. Richardson, This is Preston Whitmore. They let me keep my phone for one call. I know you probably hate me. I know I deserve it. But I need you to know something. I'm sorry. What I did at the gala was wrong. What my parents taught me was wrong. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to believe that I can be different. That I want to be different. Someday when all this is over, I hope I can prove it to you. Maya stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed a response. Preston, what you did hurt me. But what hurt more was seeing a child who had been taught that cruelty was acceptable. That people who looked like me were less than human. You're going to have a hard road ahead. Therapy. Consequences. Learning to unlearn everything your parents taught you. But if you're serious about wanting to be different, then I believe you can be. It won't be easy. Nothing worth doing ever is, but it's possible. And when you're ready to prove it, I'll be watching. Not with hatred, just with hope. She sent the message and put her phone away. Who was that? Dorothy asked. Someone who might still have a chance to become a decent human being, if he chooses to take it. 5:30 p.m. The sun was setting over New York City when Maya finally left the Brooklyn apartment. Devin had arranged a security detail, but the streets were calm. The protesters who had surrounded her building just 24 hours ago had dispersed. The narrative had shifted completely. Maya Richardson wasn't the angry black woman who had overreacted to a prank. She was the woman who had brought down a corrupt dynasty. The woman who had stood there dripping with wine and told the most powerful family in America to go to hell. The woman who had won. Her driver took her home through streets that looked different somehow. Brighter. More alive. As if the city itself was celebrating the fall of the Whitmores. Or maybe she was just seeing things clearly for the first time in days. At her building, the doorman greeted her with a warm smile. Congratulations, Ms. Richardson. The whole building watched your interview. We're all proud to have you here. Thank you, Carlos. It's good to be home. In her penthouse, Maya kicked off her shoes and collapsed onto the sofa. She was exhausted. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. 3 days of constant warfare had taken everything she had. But it was done. The Whitmores were in custody. The evidence was in federal hands. The legal process would play out over months and years, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Justice would be served. Maya's phone rang one more time. She almost ignored it, but the caller ID showed her mother's face. Ma, is everything okay? Everything is perfect, baby. I just wanted to hear your voice, and to tell you something I should have said a long time ago. What's that? When you were 7 years old, right after your father died, you asked me why bad things happen to good people. Do you remember what I told you? Maya's throat tightened. You said that bad things happen because good people stay silent. That the only way to fight evil is to speak up, to stand up, even when it's hard, even when it's scary. I told you that because I believed it, but I never had the courage to live it myself. I stayed silent when your father's company covered up his death. I stayed silent when bosses treated me like dirt. I stayed silent my whole life because I was afraid. Ma. But you, Maya, you took what I taught you and you actually lived it. You stood up to people I would have been terrified to even look in the eye. You didn't stay silent. You spoke truth to power, and you won. Evelyn's voice broke. I am so proud of you, baby. So proud. And I know your father is looking down right now, proud as can be. Maya was crying now, silent tears rolling down her face. I couldn't have done it without you, Ma. Everything I am, everything I have came from you. From your sacrifice, your strength, your love. We did it together, baby. We always do. Check 647. M. Maya stood at her window watching the last light fade from the sky. The city spread out below her, millions of lives going about their business, most of them unaware that the world had shifted slightly on its axis today. But some of them knew. The workers who had been cheated by the Whitmores. The employees who had been discriminated against. the victims who had been silenced. They knew that something had changed. That power wasn't as untouchable as it seemed. That justice, however delayed, was still possible. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Devon. Board meeting tomorrow. They want to discuss the Dorothy Hayes Justice Institute. Initial funding proposal $50 million. Everyone's on board. She smiled. It wasn't enough, not nearly enough. But it was a start. Her phone buzzed again. Sandra Mitchell. Interview requests from 60 Minutes Oprah and the New York Times. Also, the Congressional Black Caucus wants to honor you next month. And Maya. The NAACP just announced you're being awarded their highest honor for civil rights leadership. Too much, too fast. But Maya would figure it out. She always did. One more message. This one from Dorothy. Ms. Richardson, I just heard about the Institute. I don't have words. But I want you to know something. When I started keeping those journals 27 years ago, I never imagined they would lead to this. I just wanted to remember. To make sure the truth didn't die with me. But you took my truth and turned it into something bigger than I ever dreamed. Thank you. Thank you for showing me that my life meant something. That my silence wasn't weakness, but waiting. Waiting for the right moment. And the right person. I found both in you. Maya read the message 3 times through blurred vision. Then she typed her response. Dorothy. You were never waiting for me. You were always ready. You just needed someone to believe you. To see what you had been carrying all those years. I'm honored to be that person. But make no mistake, the courage was always yours. The strength was always yours. I just helped the world see what you already knew. That one person, no matter how invisible they might seem, can change everything. She hit send. Then she sat down on her sofa, pulled a blanket over her tired body, and let her eyes close. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles, new opportunities to build something lasting on the ruins of Whitmore corruption. But tonight, Maya Richardson would rest. She had earned it. 6 months later, Maya stood outside the federal courthouse, surrounded by a sea of cameras and reporters. The verdict was coming today. After months of legal proceedings, mountains of evidence and testimony from dozens of witnesses, the jury had finally reached a decision. Ms. Richardson. A reporter shoved a microphone toward her face. Do you have any statement before the verdict? Justice speaks for itself. I'll let the court do the talking. Devon appeared at her elbow. They're ready. The judge is calling everyone back in. Maya took a deep breath and walked through the courthouse doors. Dorothy was already inside, seated in the front row of the gallery. The older woman's silver hair was styled elegantly, her back straight as steel. She had aged 10 years in the past 6 months, the stress of testifying and reliving decades of trauma taking its toll. But her eyes were bright, fierce, unbroken. How are you feeling? Maya asked, sliding into the seat beside her. Like I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. Dorothy reached over and squeezed Maya's hand. Whatever happens in there, we've already won. The truth is out. Everyone knows what they did. The truth isn't enough. I want accountability. Then let's go get it. They entered the courtroom together. Richard Whitmore sat at the defense table, his once immaculate appearance showing cracks. His hair had gone fully gray. His face was gaunt. 6 months in custody awaiting trial had stripped away the veneer of power that had protected him his entire life. Victoria sat beside him, her designer clothes replaced by standard issue. She had tried to maintain her haughty demeanor during the trial, but the weight of evidence had crushed it. Now she just looked hollow, defeated. The judge entered, and everyone rose. Be seated. The jury has reached a verdict. Maya's heart pounded. 6 months of fighting. 6 months of preparation. 6 months of watching the Whitmore lawyers try every trick in the book to delay, deflect, and deny. It all came down to this moment. The jury foreman stood a middle-aged black woman named Patricia Williams. Maya had watched her throughout the trial, noting how she had listened intently to every witness, examined every piece of evidence, asked clarifying questions during deliberations. On the charge of conspiracy to commit fraud, how does the jury find guilty? A murmur swept through the courtroom. On the charge of embezzlement, guilty. On the charge of witness tampering, guilty. On the charge of obstruction of justice, guilty. Each word hit like a hammer blow. Richard Whitmore's face went pale. Victoria let out a strangled sob. On the charge of conspiracy to commit evidence tampering, guilty. On the charge of racketeering, guilty. 37 charges in total, 37 guilty verdicts. A complete and total annihilation of the Whitmore defense. When the last verdict was read, Dorothy broke down crying. Not quiet tears, but deep, racking sobs that shook her entire body. 27 years of watching. 27 years of waiting. 27 years of silence finally vindicated. Maya pulled her into a hug, holding the older woman while she wept. "We did it," Dorothy gasped. "We actually did it." "No, Dorothy, you did it. Every journal entry, every recording, every photograph, that was all you." The judge called for order and announced that sentencing would take place in 3 weeks. Court officers moved to escort the Whitmores back to custody. Richard Whitmore turned as they led him past Maya's row. Their eyes met. "This isn't over," he hissed. "I still have friends. I still have resources. You think a conviction changes anything? I'll be out in 5 years. And when I am Richard." Maya's voice was calm, ice cold. "You're 63 years old. You just received guilty verdicts on 37 felony counts. You're looking at a minimum of 25 years in federal prison. You will die behind bars, and when you do, no one will mourn you. No one will remember the empire you built. They'll only remember how it fell." Richard's face twisted with rage, but the officers pulled him away before he could respond. Victoria passed next, her eyes red and swollen. "I hope you're satisfied," she spat at Maya. "You've destroyed our family. Our son has nothing now, nothing. Your son has a chance to become something other than what you made him. That's more than he deserves, but it's still more than nothing." The courtroom emptied slowly. Reporters rushed to file their stories. Legal analysts began breaking down the implications. Social media exploded with reactions. But Maya stayed in her seat, holding Dorothy's hand, letting the magnitude of the moment sink in. They had won. 3 weeks later, the sentencing hearing drew even larger crowds than the verdict. News trucks lined the streets for blocks. Protesters and supporters gathered on opposite sides of the courthouse steps. Inside the gallery was packed with victims. Former Whitmore employees who had been cheated, discriminated against, or wrongfully terminated. Families of people whose lives had been destroyed by the Whitmore machine. Witnesses who had waited years, some decades, for this moment. Maria Santos was there, the woman who had been fired 2 days before Christmas in 1998. Her 3 children, now grown adults with families of their own, sat beside her. Raj Patel was there, the executive who had been framed for drug possession. He had rebuilt his life from nothing, working his way back up from janitor to small business owner. His wife held his hand as they waited. James Washington was there, the groundskeeper, who had nearly died from a heart attack after being falsely accused of theft. He sat in a wheelchair, now his health permanently damaged, but his eyes were clear and focused, and dozens of others. Faces Maya had come to know over the past 6 months. Stories she had heard and documented. Lives that had been shattered, and in some cases, slowly rebuilt. The judge entered. Everyone rose. "We are here today for sentencing in the matter of the United States versus Richard Whitmore III and Victoria Whitmore. The defendants have been found guilty on all 37 counts. Before I announce the sentence, I will hear victim impact statements." One by one they stood. One by one they told their stories. Maria Santos spoke about losing everything 2 days before Christmas. about her children going without presents that year, about the shame and desperation that had driven her to food banks and homeless shelters. "I worked for that family for 7 years," she said, her voice shaking. "I gave them everything I had, and they threw me away like garbage because I wouldn't let Mr. Whitmore put his hands on me. They didn't just take my job, they took my dignity, my faith in people, my belief that hard work and honesty meant something." She turned to face Richard and Victoria directly. "I spent 25 years rebuilding what you destroyed. 25 years of working twice as hard to prove I wasn't what you said I was. And now finally everyone knows the truth. You were the garbage, not me." Raj Patel spoke about finding cocaine planted in his desk, about being led out of the building in handcuffs in front of colleagues he had worked with for a decade, about his wife leaving him because she couldn't handle the shame, about losing his children's respect, about considering suicide when no company would hire him. "You didn't just frame me for a crime I didn't commit," Raj said, his voice steady despite the tears streaming down his face. "You tried to erase me from existence. You wanted me to disappear, to become nothing, to prove that people like me don't matter." He paused. "But I'm still here, and you're the ones who are about to disappear, not me." James Washington couldn't stand. He spoke from his wheelchair, his voice weak but determined. 50 years ago, I started working as a groundskeeper for the Whitmore estate. I was 17 years old, proud to have a job, grateful for the opportunity. I spent my whole career maintaining those gardens, making everything beautiful. And when it came time to retire, when I should have been enjoying my pension, they accused me of stealing tools I had never touched." His hands trembled on the armrests of his wheelchair. "The stress gave me a heart attack. Doctors said I was minutes from death when the ambulance arrived. I survived, but I'm not the same. I'll never be the same. And for what? So they could save a few $1,000s on my pension." He looked at Richard Whitmore. "You have more money than God, and you destroyed my life over pocket change. I hope you think about that every day you spend in prison. I hope you remember my face when you close your eyes at night." Statement after statement, story after story. The accumulated weight of decades of cruelty and corruption laid bare for all to see. Finally, Dorothy Hayes rose. "Your Honor." "My name is Dorothy Hayes. I worked for the Whitmore family for 27 years. I cleaned their houses. I cooked their meals. I raised their children. I was invisible to them. Just the help, not worth thinking about." She turned to face the gallery, all those damaged lives, all those broken dreams. "But I saw everything. I heard everything. I remembered everything. For 27 years, I documented their crimes. Not because I was brave. I was terrified. I documented because I couldn't bear the thought of all that suffering being forgotten, of all those victims being erased." Her voice strengthened. "They treated people like disposable objects, used them up and threw them away without a second thought. They believed their money and their name made them untouchable, above the law, above basic human decency." Dorothy squared her shoulders. "But they were wrong. The law caught up with them. Decency caught up with them. Truth caught up with them. And today, justice catches up with them." She sat down. The courtroom was silent. The judge cleared his throat. "I have reviewed all evidence, considered all testimony, and reflected deeply on the appropriate sentence. The crimes committed by Richard and Victoria Whitmore spanned decades and caused immeasurable harm to countless victims. These were not isolated incidents or momentary lapses in judgment. They were systematic, calculated, and cruel." He looked at Richard. "Richard Whitmore III, you are sentenced to 45 years in federal prison. Given your age, this is effectively a life sentence. You will die behind bars. And frankly, that is an insufficient punishment for the suffering you have caused." Richard's face went white. "Victoria Whitmore, you are sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. You were not merely a passive participant in your husband's crimes. You actively encouraged and enabled them. You laughed while others suffered. You filmed humiliation and shared it for entertainment. Your cruelty was equal to his." Victoria collapsed against her lawyer, wailing. Additionally, all Whitmore family assets currently frozen by federal authorities will be liquidated. The proceeds will be distributed among victims identified during the investigation. This includes the family estate, all business holdings, all offshore accounts, and all hidden properties. The judge paused. Finally, I want to address Ms. Maya Richardson and Ms. Dorothy Hayes directly. Maya felt Dorothy grip her hand. What you accomplished took extraordinary courage. You faced one of the most powerful families in America and refused to back down. You gave voice to the voiceless. You brought light to decades of darkness. On behalf of this court and the justice system, I thank you. He banged his gavel. Court is adjourned. The courtroom erupted.